Hey, 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 how's it going?
What's up, Dr. Tiff? How you doing?
Doing good. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. It's a great Tuesday today.
It is. We have a really great topic tonight. I know we got a lot to share, and I think tonight's topic is going to resonate with a lot of people. Entitled,
Absolutely.
yeah. I know I don't have an entitled kid. Do you have entitled kids?
Listen, I, as a parent, that is so hard to answer accurately
Right.
because you want to give your kids the best. You want to give them what you didn't have, and you want their life to be better than yours, better than the way you had it. I am avoiding that question, but I do have a story. And the story is so my youngest child wanted to go to his grandparents' house. And I was like, no. It was like late in the evening when he was trying to get over there. I wasn't driving my car to go take him over there. And so, of course, what does a kid do when they get a no for what they want? They go to the other parent. So he asked his dad, and his dad was like, "What'd your mom say?" She said no. Okay. He's like, "Yeah, it's a little too late. Well, you can go over there tomorrow." It was like still a weekend. So a few minutes go by, and the next thing I know is I hear his grandparents talking. He's gotten on his iPad and he has FaceTimed them and asked if he could come over there. And so he gets done talking with them. He comes to me and he says, one of them will come over and pick him up. Um, and so I'm like, let me talk to them, man. Let me talk to your grand. So we tell him the whole thing. The no was more for the fact that it was late and neither one of us, his parents, wanted to go, like to drive over there. So we worked it out so they was gonna come pick him up and go over there. Needless to say, the little one found a way to figure out how to get what he wanted because accepting a no was not acceptable for him at the time.
Yeah. That's amazing problem solving skills if we want to look at it from a
Right?
positive lens, right? Like he circumvented both of his parents because he did not get the response that he wanted. He went right to the source. He's like, you know what? Why am I even fooling with these two? I just need to go straight to the person or the people that I want to come get me. And I know I can probably sound real sweet on this phone and they'll say yes because they're the grandparents. They'll
And let
say
him spend the night because it's late. See?
yes. I love it. And I know I asked that question at the top, like, do you have entitled kids? I know for me, it's hard. That's a hard question to ask because, of course, we feel like we didn't raise entitled kids. You want them to appreciate the things that they get, respect the no when they get a no, wait for something instead of wanting it right then. But they have moments where as good of kids as they might be, that they feel like they deserve it right then. I know my son does that a lot, and I'm like, wait, where did you learn that from? But it's just a normal kid behavior. Like you see what you want, and by any means necessary, you zigzag, go around, whatever you got to do to get that thing, right?
You do, definitely. I know I did a live not too long ago talking about that with my niece while we were on vacation at the pool. And it was like my whole mindset around the situation was kids are only interested in getting what they want. Like themselves being happy and getting what they want. Like as a kid, that's it. What other care do you have in the world? Everything's taken care of for you. Your parents are clothing you, feeding you, depending on how young you are, bathing you. So, yeah, my goal is to get what I want. And we have to remember that about our kids.
Yeah, if you all watch and have not checked out Val's Facebook page, she goes live a lot and drops some really good information on there. Interviewing family, students, like just talking and sharing the thoughts that are on her mind. So if you don't follow her on Facebook yet, give them your Facebook handle.
Find me on
On
Facebook. It's
Facebook.
Valerie Goolsby Wilson. That's it.
Valerie
That's it.
Wilson. Nice. And we'll drop that in the chat for you all too. So, as we talk about entitled kids, we can see that most times entitled kids are created by the parenting that we give. There are some instances where maybe we don't even notice the ways that we give in more times than we shouldn't, or moments when we give in that really like plant that seed in the kid's mind, like, oh, is that what I have to do to get what I want? I'm going to tuck that away for next time so that I can use that same strategy next time to get what I want. So, as we were getting together our show notes and researching for this episode, we came across the article that talked about parenting styles, and they listed 5 parenting styles that can cause entitlement in kids and ways that you can change the kid. So we're going to share some of those tonight. So the first one is the keep them happy at all costs parent. So if you fall into this category, you would rather let your kids dominate your phone during errands or pull strings with teachers and coaches than face a tantrum. So at whatever cost of this kid not showing their butt in this moment, you can have what you want, whether it's the phone or whether it's an activity, item, whatever it is. You're dropping everything to help your kid avoid unhappiness or disappointment, and you're teaching them really that happiness is your top priority. What do you think about that parenting style?
Yeah, it's like if you are only thinking about yourself in the moment, then I feel like it's part of the reason why you give into, so to speak, what the kid is asking for and what the kids need. Like I'm sure we've all been in situations where we've been in the public and the kid is trying to show out and we are trying to avoid public embarrassment. Like, it's a real thing, and if you don't have any other strategies or ways to circumvent how the kid is trying to get what they want, if you hadn't had prior conversations with the kid beforehand, then I mean, it's so easy just to be like, here, take the phone, watch a couple of games while I get this done.
Yeah. And kids know. They know when they can pretty much get away with anything in those public situations, whether you're on the phone with customer service or out in public somewhere. They have like this sixth sense, like, oh, okay, now is the time when I can like show out. And I'm not gonna get in trouble in this moment. Now is the time where I can ask for this and this and this. And she or he is probably gonna say yes because they're busy with something else. And right now they just want to keep me happy, keep me quiet. And so then when you do that, the kids develop an entitled sense of like, what's in it for me whenever they're asked to show whenever they're asked to behave or show kindness. It's like this, now you created this transactional thing. So you want me to not show out on you in public. So then what are you going to give me so that I don't show out on you in public?
Yeah.
And in that moment, I'm guilty of doing that. Like, I've gotten to the point now where I can just shoot a look across the room, and it's a look of like, if you don't get it together right now, there may not be consequences in this moment, but they will come. So now, and I've also started saying noted. So like Uriah's doing something and we're out and about, I'm like, noted. Noted. That means I noted it in my mind. So later it's going to come back on you. Just know that in this moment, I see what you're doing. I can't address it right now, but I am noting it and I will address it with you later. And he's always like, no, 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 don't note it. Don't note it. Too late. Noted. And I don't want to talk about it right now.
I love that. I love that verbal cue and the nonverbal. Like, if I love the nonverbal first, because like you said, kids have a sense of what situations they're in and how to manipulate them. And so you have to show them in the moments, like, here's what's happening. and it's not good. And so there's going to be something that's going to address this. Now, some people say it's going to be right now. Where are you showing out at? And some people, like you said, we're going to take care of this later. I'm a proponent for the later. I don't agree with embarrassing kids publicly because I don't like. But what do you think is the fix? Or what did they suggest was the fix for this keep them happy at all cost parent?
Yeah, so in this parenting style, in the article, they talked about you giving kids what they're entitled to, which is your love and undivided attention. And they call it mind, body, and soul time. And so you can spend at least 10 minutes a day individually if you have multiple kids, and 10 minutes with each child on their terms, doing whatever they want to do during that time, and commit to that on a regular basis. And then you can watch the entitled behaviors kind of melt away. So your kids will stop trying to get your attention in negative ways, like throwing temper tantrums or negotiating, when they know they'll get it in positive ways. So it's kind of like front loading. Like, I'm going to go ahead and show you this attention, give you what you need right now, because later on, I know I'm not going to be able to give it to you in the same amount, in the same rate. So then the thought is that will transfer. It'll transition to later. So I definitely think it's something to consider. I don't think it's a be all end all type of fix, but it is definitely something that you can kind of think about in ways that'll help mitigate some of those negative behaviors that come up later on. What's another type of parent?
So a second type they mentioned is the enabler parent. I have seen this quite a lot. Very similar to the keep them happy, very similar. But this is like, let's just say you have a 16-year-old, and before that 16-year-old is ready to go out of the door in the school in the morning, they expect, like, there's no conversation. They expect a lunch bag fully prepared with all of their lunch and snack needs for the day, including drinks and probably, like some extra money to buy sodas, what have you. Or your 7-year-old is like playing with Legos or a bunch of little cars or little toys around all over the place. And the 7-year-old's expectation is that you are the one who's going to clean that up and pick that up. And you may do it quietly, or you may do it even though you're fussing at the 7-year-old, letting that kid know you should have been doing this, and you're still doing it anyway as the parent. This starts really young. Really young. Like, kids are molded and trained with their parents doing these things from earlier, and it spirals out of control. Like, when I think about the 16-year-old example, you expect me to prepare your lunch for school? You 16?
Absolutely not.
But you want the keys to drive the car. Like,
Right.
No.
These two things don't go together. I feel like I'm going to pat myself on the back for this one, because I feel like I do a pretty good job with it. And it's totally selfish reasons. So I have started giving Uriah more things to do for himself, like wash, dry, folding his clothes. When he was 4, I got a small air fryer, showed him how to make his own chicken nuggets. But I did those things because that takes those things off of my list of things to do. So that's why I say it comes from a selfish place. It has good benefit. I'm like, no, no, no. I'm not going to do all of these little things. I have other things to do. And guess what? Even if I don't have anything else to do, maybe I just want to sit down and like catch a 30-minute show on TV, read a book. I don't know. But I feel like when you start enabling kids, it can look differently. So if you're the parent that's fixing dinner and your kid's like, "Oh, I don't want that." So then you switch up and fix something else. So you maybe have 3 kids and now you're fixing different meals for each one of them. Like, you're putting more on your plate, and you're setting that expectation that the next time there's dinner, which is going to happen again the following day, that they're going to get, a custom made meal just for them, and not be, held to the standard of eating what was prepared for dinner. So I feel like if you find yourself doing some of those types of things, you can really talk to your kids. And this is one of the things the article said too, like saying to your kid, you're growing up. Now you're old enough to do X. whatever that is. If you want to get your kids to start doing their laundry, then show them how to put their clothes in the washing machine. And maybe you put in the detergent. Maybe they're not ready for that yet. But at least like take your dirty clothes from the hamper and put them into the to the washing machine. That's not a hard task. A 3-year-old can do that. It is moving one thing to another thing. So, maybe breaking it up like, hey, this week I'll do laundry, next week it's on you. But making sure that you are giving them reminders to follow through on the things that you've given to them to do, and not being that magical fairy that comes along and cleans up all the Legos and puts away all the toys. Yes, it might be easier if you just go ahead and do it. You don't have to deal with the back and forth of maybe interrupting an activity that they're doing to come clean up. But the thought process is, if you are getting them to do the things and giving them reminders, that eventually it will become routine for them where you're not having to really remind them constantly to do those things. But if your kids are in sports, it is their responsibility to get a water bottle. It is their responsibility to make sure they got their cleats, shin guard, whatever the thing is, that they have those things to go to their practice, because we're
Right.
not practicing.
Oh no. No, no, no. And I've had these situations with both of my kids. The oldest is 14. He just started band camp over the summer, and he knows. Like, I bought him a water jug. It's his job to remember to take it, to fill it up, to put the ice in the water in it. Okay. Not mine. Like, I think I might have asked him about his stuff in the car on the way there. Like, so if you forgot it, I'm sorry, dude, tomorrow you might want to remember to do that. Um, or even with the youngest, he had a habit of like leaving his toys, similar to the article's example. So my fix was, well, if you can't pick them up, that means you don't need them. So if I have to pick them up, then I'm going to gather them and we're going to go take them to the Salvation Army. And his eyes got so big, he was so in shock, like it wasn't an issue anymore.
I
But
love
they have
that.
to learn. They have to learn. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah.
So,
One of the other types of parenting styles that this article talked about was the rescuer parent. So this might be you. If your child can remember to do homework, permission slips, gym shoes, lunch, unless you remind them every single time, you're categorized as the rescuer parent. Like, you've had this sense for a long time that your kid could remember their soccer cleats by themselves, but they never seem to. And this kind of goes to what you just shared in your example about the water bottle. They feel entitled to your personal delivery service when they forget things, or they feel like, I don't need to think about it because somebody's going to remind me to get those things before we need to leave the house. And the truth is, whether you're like in a rush to help your child finish a science project the night before it's due, or negotiating grades, or football things, you need to back off and let your child face the music when it comes to their effort or their lack of effort and forgetfulness. So, like you said, your son forgot his water bottle. Well, you're going to be thirsty this practice. I know for my son, he doesn't like to drink after me. Somewhere along the line, he didn't want me to like kiss him on the lips or drink after me. I guess I got the cooties when he was 4. And so he went to tennis. He forgot his water bottle. And I knew what he was going to say when I gave him my suggestion. I was like, oh, you can have a sip of mine. And he's like, no, no, I don't want that. So he hasn't forgotten his water bottle since. So I know there can be some ways for you to move past just the reminders, and that is really just letting them face the natural consequences that come with forgetting, whether it's items, homework, getting ready for a test, and just letting them deal with the consequences. What do you think about that?
yeah, I think we try to, with good intentions, keep our kids from experiencing negative things. And in order to like grow and live and be successful in this life, like there's good and there's bad, and even when there's bad, that can be for your good. So I also believe that you let them know up front. So not like all of a sudden there's this consequence based on this rule that I'm just now communicating to my kid in the moment. Like, I don't believe that's the way to handle it. Let them know ahead of time that I realize I've been doing this for you. And I understand that while it's benefiting, you think it's benefiting you, it's really not. It's not benefiting me either. So from this point forward, we're going to do XYZ. And if you happen to forget or you don't do your part, then these are probably the consequences that you're going to face. And I'm going to let you face them,
Mhm.
and do it lovingly. Don't do it with like any sarcasm, but let them know like this is for good. And yeah, that first time right after that, they're gonna mess up because you're breaking the training, you're breaking what they're used to. But if you're patient and if you stick to it, like you will see your kids become more responsible and think about the things that pertain to them instead of thinking that somebody else is going to compensate for me.
Yeah. And this was made, I thought about this while you were sharing. I know we're talking about parenting styles, but these could also be teacher styles too. Because what you were just saying, I thought, oh, this could be the teacher who, is constantly reminding kids about an upcoming test, like over and over. Your project is due, your project is due, even though you have it posted in the classroom, you said it
Mhm.
once, and then you're continuing to say it for them. Maybe you give them a little extra time to get it done because they waited till the last minute and now they need more time. So I feel like each one of these that we've talked about so far, like the keep them happy at all costs, that could be a teacher style as well. The enabler parent could also be the enabler teacher. And so could this rescuer parent also be the rescuer teacher too. So if you're an educator listening, thinking about where you fall on these styles could be a good like inside look at yourself to just create more awareness.
I'm so glad you said that because I was thinking the same thing. Like, I could think back in situations in my classroom. Now, I've been some of these at some point over the years, especially with the like reminding of there's a test tomorrow, there's a test in 2 days, and oh, you didn't do it, the time is up. Well, I'm gonna extend the time so you can get it done. Like I've been there, done that. We all have. But at the same time, if we're focused on raising kids who are responsible for themselves and then, responsible for others too, like caring as community members, then we have to realize that there are boundaries that have to be set in place and kids have to understand there's consequences, experience those because that's how they learn as well.
Yep, definitely. What's another parenting style that this article talked about, Val?
So another one is called the indulging parent. So example they gave was your 12-year-old demands to see this PG-13 movie with friends, um, and wins with you. Like you know that that's not appropriate for them. If you're gonna let them watch it, you need to be there, but they've convinced you that it's best for them if they go with their friends. Or you have a 6-year-old who insists like every single time you have a meal that they need to have a soda with that meal without any negotiation or questions. If they don't get that soda, then it's a problem. And you always give in to that, then you may be an indulging parent. Um, and it's important to understand that we're not saying you can never be this way or you can never do these things. Like we don't we want our kids to experience things and pleasures that they like in life, because I mean honestly we all do, but it's also our job to make sure that we set limits, because with the experience that we have over them, living longer, going through more things, we we know a lot of what's best. And so we have to be sure that we are intentional about getting our kids to understand you may like that. And in most cases, that's okay. But when we set a boundary, it is for your good.
Yep. And I think that the indulging teacher could also look that same way where maybe at recess the kids take the football out and then they are getting super rough. Somebody always ends up getting hurt, needs to go to the nurse's station. And so then they just expect it. Hey, we're going outside for recess. We're taking the football, we're playing. And when you set that boundary, then
Mhm.
there's that pushback. And then you give in, like, okay, fine, you all can play. And I know we talked about natural consequences, and somebody might be thinking, well, it's just a natural consequence. If they play rough, then they're going to get hurt. Well, the natural consequences is a good thing for kids to experience, but we don't want to go so far that they end up injuring themselves in a bad way.
Right.
So I just think it's something to understand that we allow our kids a sense of power over positive things, such as like what kind of healthy snacks that they can have or when we go to the store or between meals, whether with the indulging teacher, like making sure that you know maybe you have them do things in your classroom in a certain way, in a certain position in the classroom, and maybe giving some freedom of choice in that way, so that there's some choice, but you're not just indulging them and saying yes to everything, because in the end, it'll come back to bite you, in my opinion, because you're going to have to unring the bell because they're going to keep pushing the boundary. That
Mhm.
any kid does that. Oh, she said yes to this. Okay, let me see how. If I ask this, will she say yes? And then they just keep pushing the boundary. It doesn't end. So definitely keeping that in mind, that you can give opportunities for them to have some control, but then there have to be those limits, like you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So we got one more. Tiff,
Yeah.
you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, the over the top parent, or as we started referring to it, the over the top teacher as well. So this could be you if you go out of your way to make sure your kids have the very best possible, whether it's your kids or your students. That means lavish holidays if you're a parent, designer bedroom, making sure their outfits are perfect. If you're the teacher, making sure they have access to everything they need in the classroom. You're going out and like really overdoing your classroom to make sure they feel comfortable. They come in your classroom, they want to be there. And so if they always experience the best of what life has to offer, this article says that they'll start to feel entitled to it. And then as they grow up, again, you're just up in the ante. It's like the parent who throws the out of this world bash for their kid's third birthday. It sets the tone for the next birthday. You're going to have to do better. And the next one, you're going to have to do better. So when you suggest having a pizza party at the house with a couple of friends, they're looking at you like, wait, what? That that's what no, we don't do that. So making sure that you cut back on some of those over the top tendencies will make for a happier and more content child down the road. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, especially coming from the classroom environment, like I have seen teachers just go way, way above and beyond. I am not one of those teachers. Okay. I don't have that problem, but you're right. The students start to expect those things, or even if let's just say for simple example, like a lead pencil versus a wooden pencil, right? That you may think that that sounds crazy, but trust me, come into the school system, okay? Like if and what I do as the math teacher is if they don't have a pencil, which most students should have a pencil, most of them, right? We know there's this select few. But if they don't have one and you're trying to borrow one from Ms. Wilson, then there's a box full of wooden pencils that you can borrow. So at the beginning of the year, we have to get over that. You know, they think, I
Mhm.
don't write with these kind of pencils. Well, I guess you're not writing today. Okay. Uh, you better get it from somebody else. Once we get over that, then it was they expected me to have the pencils all the time and they would not return them.
Mhm.
So it was a fact of, oh, I don't have to be responsible for that part anymore. I'm gonna just get yours. And then I don't have to be responsible for appreciating it from you. I'm gonna just keep it and lose it later and expect you to give me another one. No, I'm gonna put 10 pencils in here on Monday. Okay. You all are responsible for making sure each other is held accountable about these pencils because once they're gone, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to wait till next week. And magically, I started getting pencils picked up off the floor. I started hearing children say, "That's Miss Wilson pencil. You need to go put that back." Like, just set some boundaries for these kids and some structure, and I promise you they will rise to the occasion.
Yeah, and then you involve them in it as well. Like you made it a community effort. Like keep keep an eye on each other to make sure that you're holding your classmates accountable as well. If you have multiple kids, you can do the same thing, keeping them accountable, helping them keep each other accountable. And like we've talked about, throughout this episode, setting those limits, teaching respect, empowering your kids to make decisions and face the consequences of decisions that don't align with what they know is the best thing to do, and letting them experience those consequences while you offer some guidance on it as well. I know you mentioned it at the top of the episode, but including kids and having that dialogue with them about why things are shifting if you found yourself falling into one of these categories, talking to them about how it has been and now how it's going to be going forward will
Mhm.
help just give them a little bit of understanding about why things have seemed to just go left in their world because you kind of snatching the rug out from under them. You can still have a sharp change, but just including them in the conversation about that change helps get them prepared for it as well. So
Yeah. Good
awesome.
stuff. Good stuff.
And again, if you fall into one of these categories, no shame. I know I could see myself in a few of these. And if you
Mhm.
picked up some tips in today's episode, be sure to share this episode with colleagues, friends as well. We are here every Tuesday. If you're watching us live or catching the replay, you can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Just search Tuesday Talks and look for these gorgeous faces. And with that, we will see you all next Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. Have a good one.
Bye. Have a good one.